think of all the things that you love to complain about that get you upset. When you know that you win in the end, your life is glazed over with a inner strength that all things are working towards His purpose.
So many people are standing in front of opportunities with the gifting that meets that opportunity, and they're like,
Our calling is not to be comfortable. Our calling is to build. Learning to say no gracefully. Hey, this is an opportunity. It's just like, I really appreciate it, but no, I'm not going to go on your podcast.
Welcome back to the MakeReady Podcast. My name is Brian Sims, and today I'm joined by my friend Will McNutt. Will has worked in law, politics, business, but what stands out is his commitment to faithful leadership in his family, church, and public life. We'll talk mentorship, integrity, and what it means to be a Christian man and lead in every sphere of life. If you enjoy this conversation, click the like and follow buttons so you never miss an episode. If you want to support our mission, there's a link in the description below. This is the MakeReady Podcast. Will McNutt.
Brian Sims.
It's time.
I only hope that we're starting after some very epic intro music. That's my hope.
That's true. Well, I'll make sure to. The national anthem. We'll just do the national anthem.
I got to stand up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I Googled you, and apparently you had a very extensive and successful football career in college. But your pigment has changed quite a bit.
Yeah. For the longest time, if you Googled Will McNutt, there was a receiver, black guy, played for Iowa. And clearly I'm not him, if you can't tell.
You have the height.
The height I got.
But pigment's off a little bit.
Yeah, speed's no good.
Yeah.
Speed's no good. Hands, medium. You know? I got medium hands.
You know, my dad played college football. You would have no idea by looking at me. No idea.
I wouldn't get a guess.
It's an enigma. But I Googled my name, and apparently there's a Democrat in Pennsylvania State House.
Sure.
So that's what people are going to see.
Spelled the same?
He actually spells it with an I, so there's something off about that guy. And
Makes
then there's some guy that USAID funded his something, and he runs a nonprofit.
Yeah, well, maybe not anymore.
Well, let's hope so. Tell me your story.
My story is one of steady progress. Today, I am the co-founder of Anthem, a commercial real estate development group, general contractor management company in Texas. But starting a company is its own process. I have a family, wife, 3 children, church. And then as an attorney, I've worked on many conservative causes, campaigns, election integrity, and then I've worked on 2 presidential transitions. So I don't know what that story is linearly, but together, that's what puts me here today.
You were asking me like, golly, dude, why are you having me on? I'm like, well, you don't know. You don't know? Dude, there's so much about Alice and I, my wife, were talking the other day about the people in our lives that we think are taking the most ground and taking life most seriously, engaging in not only politics, but in church and their family, and seeing that as one thing, as one responsibility. And I'll have that guy on later, but no, seriously, man, I'm so encouraged by you and like how you lead your family, how you're engaged at some of the highest levels. Not only that you're engaged, but you never know if you met you.
Yeah, it's certainly not the highest levels.
Higher levels than you got to remember where I'm at. So it's pretty lofty.
Amen.
You know, that height where you are is kind of you can't really tell the difference between that and the highest height. So
well, that's very kind. No, I've been blessed to be able to work for and become friends with some very impressive people. And and their guidance has always been helpful in my life. So it certainly takes, if you were to look at the me now versus the me 5 years ago, I always think, no matter where I am in life, that the me 5 years ago was an idiot. So if I continue that trend, then I think my trajectory should be okay.
So you say you have these guys that were mentors to you and people that have just come alongside you. Have you sought those guys out, or were you just around them and said, hey, like, how do you do you?
When I was younger, they were just there. And it's looking back that you feel tremendous gratitude for people that were in your life. Family, coaches, family, friends. But over time, I think I've developed a better sense of trying to build genuine friendships with people that I admire, impressive folks, people. And it's funny, they talk about it's hard to make friends as an adult, right? And there's some truth to that. But at the same time, if you're a consistent person and you're working towards a goal and you're showing up at the things that people working on those goals would show up to, you'll make friends left and right. I also think the world is short on giving favors or being friendly or in some sense trying to be helpful to strangers. And if you can just start chasing a goal and meeting the same kinds of people over and over, and you just extend a hand of friendship, like I haven't felt that it was that difficult to form friends and friendships as an adult, just because you're there and you're showing up and you see people that are working on the same stuff.
Well, it's different. I mean, because like when you're growing up, it's proximity to school, it's proximity to who your parents are around. It's not until you become adult that you really start to craft this. Right? Who do I really want to be? And what's the adage? Like you're most like the 5 people you're around the most.
Yeah, you're the average of your 5 closest friends.
Yeah,
and I tell my boys that. So they're trying to figure out. You want to be friends and friendly to everyone. How can you talk to people at every stage in life, while at the same time making sure that you only have impeccable close circles, because you don't want to be insular. You want to be able to engage with anybody, but who are your true trusted friends?
How do you find that? I mean, is that so? It's so much more active. Like you have to pursue it when you get older. It doesn't just happen. Like my closest friends in the past 15 years have all essentially been from church. Sure. You know, I've more recently found a lot of camaraderie with guys that I'm engaged with politically. You know, you just find things that you care about. Like you said, you pursue those, and you look left and right, and you find that there's people alongside you doing the same thing. Yeah. Being consistent, showing up is half the battle. Showing up to these things that you may not think are fruitful. And then what do you know? You do make 1 or 2 friends, or you reconnect with people you hadn't seen in a while. It's the basketball analogy of just being around the hoop, right? If you want the ball to come to you, you got to be around the hoop. So you got to go to where the action is, and that can be for your industry or at your church events or going to industry groups, whatever that may be. Yeah, or Mar-a-Lago. Mar-a-Lago. Well, I mean, can I even talk about that, or is that like, am I going to cut this whole part? You can talk about it. I can talk about that because I don't rub any shoulders at Mar-a-Lago. You're going to make it seem like I do, which would be a surprise to probably many people at Mar-a-Lago. No, they're having the same conversation. Go, yeah, I just met this guy. Yeah, right. You know, rubbing shoulders. No, I've been blessed to have been able to go there, but there's also a whole culture built around the Southern White House. And so I'm lucky to have played a very small part in helping this past transition, and his first one on this inaugural committee. Explain that for me, because I've tried to explain that to somebody, and I was woefully poor at it. Yeah. So please explain that to me. Sure. So obviously in today's age, saying that you were on the transition team, people may look you up and down and wonder
What exactly do you mean by that? Is there a process that you're going through right now that I should?
You're a trans expert.
Yes, yes. Transitioning is a process. Legally, the presidential transition has been known as a transition between that time where someone is elected and they're still a private citizen, but they get sworn in several months later. And so how do you get him and his staff up to speed? How do they engage officially with people that are in office over that 3-ish month period to prepare for policies, personnel, going left seat, right seat with people that are in the administration getting briefings so that when you do swear in, transition of power does happen, everyone's ready to go.
Yeah, hit the ground running.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, you were in both of Trump's transition teams. What was the difference? I mean, because I can't even, because he was obviously a private citizen, went back to being a private citizen, but I mean, it had to be completely different. Like what he wanted to do.
Unprecedented.
To say the least.
It can be used to describe President Trump in almost every facet. So the idea, this transition in particular, was night and day different from the first. But the Presidential Transition Act was written assuming that the person going into the White House had never been there before. If someone is reelected as a sitting president, there is no transition. So most people who have a second term are flowing directly into it from the first term. So having a second presidential transition with the same president-elect, unprecedented, but you learn a lot from the first one. I was closer to fresh out of law school during the first transition, so I was a baby attorney, very junior.
Gosh, what is going on here?
Exactly. It was getting to go to D.C. and being around impressive people working on big projects was cool, but it was a mess. It was a big old mess.
Well, because it was a little unprecedented also.
Yes. It was.
In terms of personnel and people. I mean, he was bringing in people that had never been in government before or around government.
Mm-hmm. That is true. This one was very organized. The last one could have used additional organization. And so, and I think you're seeing the fruits of that today. Trump 2.0, Trump 1.0, two very different administrations.
So, I mean, it was like picking up at the 50-yard line instead of running the whole field the second time. Like y'all already, it wasn't a 3-month thing. I mean, they've been thinking about it for 4 years.
Sure. The parties typically have a pre-election transition team that is much smaller. So there'll be people at RNC or DNC that are working on policies and personnel ahead of the election. But there's this Chinese wall typically between the election folks, the campaign folks, and the transition folks, because you want these people focused on victory. And so now is not the time to think about what your next job may or may not be. And then after the election, if you win, then that Chinese wall comes down and literally thousands of people are moved from campaign into transition.
What do you say to people that, and maybe you don't come across people like this, I certainly do, because I've been interested in politics for a long time, in just governments and how the Lord works through those things. But there is a very large portion of Christians who, I don't know if they actively stay away from it, but they kind of look at it as a not as important issue as I feel like they should see it as. So for you, why should Christians be involved in politics?
I mean, I am the probably least qualified person to weigh in on theology. At the same time, I think we can all agree, and I haven't met a priest or a pastor who said Christians should retreat from public life, right? You should not be engaged civically. So it's like, okay, I don't think that is what the Word of God calls us to do. So then it becomes just a question of scale. Being involved civically can be helping your city councilman. Being involved civically can be working for nonprofits. We live in a country that has a lot of citizen input. And so the idea of not touching politics is so broad of a category, I don't know. A lot of it will simply depend on there are different parts of the body And I believe, as a follower of Christ, that wherever I go and whatever I'm doing, I'm in some ways advancing the kingdom and trying to do His work. In my world, that happens to involve politics, but that's not the case for everybody.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what I want to get into is your why. Because sure, I mean, I'm not an authority on theology or anything, but there's definitely a why I do it. And I mean, that's really sourced in not only, where I come from and who my parents, grandparents were, what circles I find myself in. Like you said, like everybody has a different gifting, and the Lord's going to give you opportunities to use that gifting. I just feel like so many people are standing in front of opportunities with the gifting that meets that opportunity, and they're like,
That's probably true. Like I say, half the game is just showing up, depending on what your interests are. And it's amazing how and I'll feel repetitive, but simply being diligent. If you're passionate about something, spend time around people that are much better at it than you. The world is pretty accessible, especially with technology, that you can communicate with anybody. You can reach out to most people. It's not hard to get plugged in. It's really not.
I mean, would you say that like calling is bigger than career? Like it's a bigger thing than your career? Maybe it includes your career. Well, obviously it should include your career in some way.
I agree. Your calling certainly is bigger. I haven't met anyone with one career much anymore. Most people end up having multiple careers in their lifetime.
That is so true. I mean, growing up, it was very much you see your dad, you see different people that they're kind of locked in on doing what they're doing. And I mean, our whole education system is built to filter people into those lifelong careers. But is it our generation? Is it like, when did that change?
The economy's more dynamic. I believe that the idea of steady employment in one company was almost a myth to begin with. It was certainly more common in generations past. But no, I think you're seeing a lot of people get into a career. They're not as satisfied as they thought they would. It's not as lucrative as they thought they would. And they do what is a very American thing, which is pioneer in a different direction. And there's nothing wrong with that. And honestly, the crossbreeding of all these different industries is creating cool overlaps. You may be working at a media company, then you find yourself in an accounting firm. There's a lot of cross-training that can come from that. So our economy is very dynamic for that reason. You're raised in communist China, they're going to tell you what you're going to do, and that's what you're going to do. We're blessed to have the ability to not be handcuffed like that.
I mean, we're designed to be builders. I feel like something's being unlocked in men especially, to where this new economy, to what you're talking about, to where there's much more flexibility, much more freedom. There's less pursuit of security and more pursuit of opportunity. I find that super interesting. That's one of the reasons I find you so interesting, is because you give your hand at so many different things, and are excellent in so many of them. All of them. I'm sorry, not so many of them. We'll not talk about the ones that you're not excellent in, but
that'll take a while.
Yeah. We'll have your wife on. And
well, honestly, she's a huge reason why we as a family were able to do so many different things. And you talk about being builders. I think at every stage of my life, I've always felt like I was building for the future. I was always trying to make future Will's life a little easier. I had a friend of mine who said, you don't want to be working for previous you. You know, if previous you made some dumb mistakes, now you're paying for them. You don't want to be that guy. You want to be the guy that's working for future you, that can look and say, previous me did me well. He really set me up. And so I've always had a sense that I was building for the future. And And life compounds. If you are diligent and you're, have your eye on what your goals are supposed to be, and you keep showing up, then I think there's a compounding effect. But no, if it weren't for my wife and having a good home base for our children and our family, it doesn't free me up to go do things outside the home. So, it's a team effort for sure.
You touched on something I think is really interesting, and that's reflection,
mm-hmm.
and evaluating kind of where you've been, where you're going, and use the past as an opportunity to learn from your mistakes.
Oh, all the time.
Do you have a process for doing that, or does it just happen?
For
do you have a method? Yeah. Do you have a method of reflecting? Do you journal? Do you anything like that?
No, I try to be good at journaling. I try to keep one. It's not very often. In all honesty, my journal has turned into what I think are going to be just letters to my children. Like that's honestly how I feel like I'm journaling, is I'm writing things down because I thought, this sucked, don't do that again. Or I'm going through something that I know my children will face. And so I'm almost writing it for them one day, because my memory's terrible. I forget what I had for breakfast. And so there are a lot of lessons that unless I take the time to write them down, they're not going to be remembered.
Have you started passing some of those down to your kids? How old are your kids again?
They're all elementary school or younger.
Okay. But your oldest son is 9?
Yeah, he's
9.
going to be second grade.
Wow. Do you see something kind of changing in him? Is he starting to kind of receive guidance in a different way?
Oh, yeah. No, all of my kids are different. It's fun to see the light come on for different stages. He's so young, though. But I think he's got a good head on his shoulders. And he's definitely he's driven athletically with the McNutt genes. I don't know how successful that's going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Well, I mean, come on.
Of course, yeah. But yeah, I think he's on a good trajectory at the moment. We're sending him to an all-boys school, and I think that has been a big blessing in all of our lives, because they do things at these all-boys schools that you can't do in a co-ed environment.
In what way?
I'm trying to think of an example. But I asked him, my favorite question is, what'd you do in PE today? Because that's the one class they have that's steady throughout. They have a funky schedule to where different classes move, and they won't have everything on every day. So the one class I know he had every day was PE. So I'm like, hey, how was PE? He's like, oh, Dad, it was great. They took us up to, this was in first grade, they took him up to the wrestling deck. And they basically said, hey, all you boys pair off. I'm going to blow a whistle, and don't stop unless someone says stop. And that was it. And they just left. They left the wrestling deck 45 minutes later, just drenched in sweat. I was like,
just let them run out all of their energy.
That's the goal as a dad, is you got to drain the battery. At the end of the day, if you're not on, if the red battery indicator isn't on your kids, then you need to go tucker them out.
Do you find it hard? Because I certainly do. Spending the day working, engaging with people, trying to build something, and then going home and just being exhausted and having to. I mean, you got to be on.
Yeah.
Your dad, and it's time.
Yes, that is true. And a lot of days a week, I sit in my car just for a moment, before you get out and you come in from the garage, just to make sure that you're not bringing any stuff home.
Just reset.
Yeah, just sit there for just a bit and just make sure that you're coming in trying to be anchored to what you're trying to do next. And that's helpful. At the same time, I think it's important that your kids see that work, it's called work. You know what I mean? It's not just sunshine and rainbows all the time. So when it sucks, they need to see that it sucks sometimes.
Mm-hmm. It's tending the garden. It's what we're designed to do.
I do feel that. And once again, to my lovely wife, there are just a lot of things that we've worked out as a team. Mm-hmm. The two most important decisions you'll make in life is, will I follow God, and who am I going to marry? And if you don't make those correctly, you're setting yourself up for a lot of struggle. You're putting a lot of weight on your own shoulders unnecessarily because life is a team sport. And so you need to be able to build the foundation correctly with people that are aligned with you. The person who's most going to hopefully be aligned with you is your wife. And so that's been a blessing.
How do you nurture that?
Oh, man. Honestly, when I started dating my wife, I was a moron. So she helped domesticate me. There is no doubt. I think that's true for a lot of guys. The dating process, the engagement process, the marriage process is a domestication effort to let you know that, like, you can't be an idiot, right, much longer. It's
game time.
It was. And I went to an all-boys school. And so just the world of women in general was something that was probably more foreign than it was for people that went to co-ed education. So the domestication effort was tough but important. And then over time, I mean, like, I'll tell it this way. We got married right out of college, and I went to law school. And I was on a scholarship through the Guard, and they helped pay for school, but my wife was an elementary school teacher. And so when we paid rent, it came from her check, and I'm making negative money in law school. And so we always worked a budget. We tried to never run any month in the red. Can't always do it. We always try to put money away for retirement. You talk about trying to do all the right things now to set up future will. To be thankful, that kind of cash flow budgeting every month to make sure that I'm never running in the red, that compounds over time. And then there was that time in our marriage where we were both working, and then you have kids, and you got to do the math on, does this make sense? And now it's flipped. Now she's at home being a mother, and she's very civically minded. She's only enabled to go do that because she's not spending 40, 50, 60 hours a week as a teacher. But that enables me to go do some other things outside the house.
Podcasts.
Like podcasts.
Yeah. Dude, that's so encouraging. And that's what my wife and I really aim for. I feel like in terms of kids and everything, we're like 3 years behind y'all. And look to you guys a lot of, how are the McNutts doing things? Oh, we should probably not do that. Let's pivot.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, no, I always got to be working for future you. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
Try not to make any dumb short-term decisions.
The irony of that, though, is that the future never happens. It's always an idea out there. And so, and the past is always there to reflect on, but it's done. All you can really control is what's now.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you parse the, like, I'm so future-minded that I don't worry about, like, don't focus on the now where I'm at and what God has in front of me, but still being faithful to, like, so it's like the retirement thing.
Mm-hmm.
People really focus on retirement, and most people are like, I'm just going to do nothing. I'm going to go sit on a beach.
Are we called to do nothing?
No, but someday you're not going to be as productive in your traditional way of making money, and you're going to be able to transition into some other gifting that you have and deploy that and build in some other way. How do you balance that?
Balance the now versus the future?
The now versus the future.
Honestly, focusing on the future, it takes diligence because the now is so pressing. And there's so many things that we're told are urgent, and they're really not. Mm-hmm. So learning to focus on the things that matter, it seems very obvious to say, but there are a lot of distractions that are pushed in front of you as a parent. The kid sports world is nuts, and we said that we're just not going to do that. Like, we're involved in youth sports, but it's not going to control our lives.
You're not going to 9-year-old baseball in like New York?
Yeah, travel teams. Yeah. I have a lot of respect for these travel team families because it's a whole house effort.
Oh, it is. I mean, I don't know many of them because they're never here.
That's a great point. So yeah, then honestly, I think it's harder to think about the future because the now always seems so pressing. There's always something to do. There's always something to occupy your time. And really the only part of that matters is like you have to be very selective with the people you invest your time with. So like your children are a huge priority. Your wife and your marriage, huge priority. You have your work. What's left after that? You got to try to make sure you got time to stay in shape. You got to try to make sure that you invest in whatever your few passion projects are. But it's like you've run out of hours by that point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Gosh, that happens so quickly. I mean, the weeks go by so fast.
Yeah. Learning to say no gracefully is so hard, right? Of just like, hey, this is an opportunity. It's just like, I really appreciate it. But no, I'm not going to go on your podcast.
My problem is I'll just ignore it. And then 3 weeks later, hey, have you thought about that? Like,
well, and I appreciate diligence. I'm someone who is, if you have something you're focused on, you're going to try to make sure it happens. So I am someone who admires diligence. And it's always different with different people. There's that on the fence line of like, am I being diligent? Am I being persistent? Or am I being obnoxious? You know what I mean?
Well, I used to be a used car salesman.
Is that true?
It is true.
I didn't know that.
But you could have assumed it,
Yeah, sure. No, of course. Yeah, I mean.
That is true. Oh, man.
I bet you learn a lot. I bet you learn a lot about sales.
You learn a lot about no.
Sure.
Right? And you learn a lot about how do you motivate people in a way that isn't manipulating.
Mm-hmm.
Especially from the where I was at, in that the used car world, for good reason, has a reputation of not doing that correctly. But where I was and where they taught me how to have these conversations with people was we're not going to manipulate people. We're just going to, they're here for a reason.
Yeah.
You're connected to them for a reason. Just see if you can. They need something.
Mm-hmm.
Provide what they need.
Yeah, I'd probably encourage all my boys at some point to go and try the sales route.
Well, you get the whole, like, a lot of young kids do the door-to-door thing.
Oh, yeah.
Like after college, you go, there used to be people sell encyclopedias.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of men in very high positions in this world that did that.
Mm-hmm.
And they will talk about it as one of the most formative things they ever did.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Learning to interact with anyone in life and being able to get their attention is an art. And it's not easy.
Mm-hmm.
How to do it respectfully, how to make sure that you're approaching them with something that seems like it's worth their time. So, yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Block walking. If you've never been block walking, and I know you have,
mm-hmm.
You have to go block walk at least once in your life for a political campaign. It will
that
teach you so much about the world.
It is so true. I would probably encourage anyone. Look, we live in a very civically engaged country. Everything is decided by a vote at some level, and probably the more local, the more impactful it is on your life. But working on a campaign can be some of the best intense experiences and memories that you create for yourself, and you learn a ton of lessons. But yeah, go block walking. Go knock on various people's doors. Have them peer out and wonder, who is this guy? Try to get their attention. Try to not tick them off. And then try to sell them on your candidate. And it is a great experience. It's a good civic experience to learn how campaigns work. But at the same time, you just learn about people. And you also connect with all walks of life because everyone's vote matters and counts the same.
But does it?
Mathematically, yes.
Technically, yes.
Yeah. Now, yeah. What's it's not who does the voting, but who counts the votes. Those are the people you need to be watching.
If you want your vote to count more, go block walking.
That's true. It's true. There are really only two things you can do outside of the donor world, but there are really only two things you can do to engage politics with any effectiveness. It's like one, vote. You'd be astounded how many people, because before you block walk, you have an app, and it tells you this is the address, these are the people, and this is where and when they voted. Most people just don't vote. It's astounding. And you have special elections, you have municipal elections, county and state. It's not just that Tuesday in November every 4 years, right? It's showing up. You want to be someone who votes in every election, because that's, honestly, you wonder why your property tax is so high. You wonder about the bond package that the school passes. Like, all those things are decided by a vote, and most people are just not up to speed. And I get it. They got a lot of things to do. But that's probably the most impactful thing you can do, is just make sure you're voting. And then if you want to have an impact civically. But then second thing is, then if you want to do more than that, then go work on a campaign. Just volunteer your time.
Why do you think so many people spend just as much effort complaining about that and not going and doing it, which would be less effort?
Because it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to complain.
Yeah, it's fair.
Yeah. I'm a professional complainer.
How do you change that in men? Because that's so, I relate to that so much.
Mm-hmm.
And my wife would affirm that. And
I bet.
And go do something.
I'll tell you a story. There's a guy, and he is a rabid Dallas Cowboys fan. Poor guy. And there's a time in his life where he would get so upset that he'd curse, get red-faced, throw stuff at the TV. And his wife ultimately had to come and say, like, we got to figure something out. This is too much. You're too invested. You're not playing. Like, you're really getting worked up. I'm worried about your blood pressure, you know? And so they worked out an arrangement. Have I told you this before?
I think so, but keep going because it's awesome.
They worked out an arrangement where they would record the games, and he would only watch the game if his wife let him know that they would win that Sunday. Are you tracking?
I'm tracking.
So obviously he would get upset, but then if it would make him too upset, ruin his weekend, upset the household, his wife would say, hey, don't watch this Sunday. And he'd say, okay, I just won't watch. But then when he did watch, the ones where, you know, hey, wife, you know, can we watch the game? Yeah, we can watch the game today. Turn on the TV. Every fumble, every interception, every sack, for some reason didn't upset him as much. It's because he knew that they won in the end. And to me, that is a great illustration of what it means to follow the Lord. Because think of all the things that you love to complain about that get you upset. When you know that you win in the end, your life is glazed over with a inner strength that all things are working towards His purpose. So I love to tell that story because it should encourage people to not take the little things as seriously as they do and to focus on the things that matter.
Sounds like you didn't watch very many football games.
There are a couple seasons where, yeah, he wasn't watching too many.
That is a great analogy.
Yeah,
because like we are emissaries of the King of Kings, the Emperor of the world that knows exactly how it's going to end, and it's going to end in His favor.
That's right.
Sitting on the throne.
Yeah,
all acknowledging His lordship, and we're just working out. We're just following Him. But we make it so hard.
We do. It's incredible to me. Jesus came and He said, follow me, and people will hate you. It will divide your family. And somehow that message conquered the world.
Yeah.
It's not like He said, oh, follow me, there'll be riches and women and glory. He said, follow me, and it will be a sacrifice. And He wrote nothing down. Yet somehow that message spread to every corner of the globe. And so our calling is not to be comfortable. Our calling is to build. The building process sucks. It is sacrificial. Building is the embodiment of sweating today for something later. I'm gonna build, I'm gonna be in construction, and then years from now, this will be a thing that I will enjoy and be thankful for. So you can carry that in almost every aspect of life. Carry that in parenting. We carry that in our finances. We carry that in our business. Yeah, it's a building mentality for sure.
Has that been magnified being in the development world?
Yeah, you can, feel it. You can see it. You can touch it. So that the manifestation of construction is so direct. It's much easier to comprehend sticks and bricks compared to, I don't know, and I'm not a software developer, but the world of bits as opposed to the world of atoms. So yeah, it's far more tangible. Mm-hmm. It's cool. You can go to a field where there was nothing a few years ago, and then after you work on it and you have a good team, you plan it, you build it, you lease it up, you manage it, you'll walk into that leasing center, you'll walk into that clubhouse just a couple years later, and in comes the mailman, and he knows the leasing consultant on a first name basis, and two people meet at the pool and they got married and now they have a family, and you realize there was nothing here before. This was literally a patch of grass, and thanks to investment and capital and sweat, now this thing exists. So that it's a cool thing. Every once in a while it catches you. You're like, man, there was just nothing, and now there's this. 500 people live here. It's a cool feeling for sure.
That's so cool. What do you think is a miss today? Pivoting, a miss today with men.
What do you mean?
But that's just you can take that wherever you want to, because there seems to be, like we said earlier, a change in how men see the world and the fact they can go and build something and change something and pursue a lot of different things. But we also have just gone through the past 10 years where men have been told that they are worth nothing and that they should sit down, shut up, and let the women lead.
To some extent, I think that's true. David Murrow has done great work on this. Why men hate going to church. If you haven't read his book or just listen to one or two of his podcast episodes, it's fantastic on why churches are turning away guys overwhelmingly. And if you're involved in your church leadership, you should listen to his work, because you'll reflect on a lot of things that your church is probably doing. And you're like, oh, I didn't think about that as a turnoff to guys wanting to show up on Sunday. So you're like, okay, there's probably some things we could adjust. But that's only the church perspective. Look, if you're a young guy and you're not married, my best advice is just, the world will throw so many distractions at you. Just become an expert at something. Because you're not going to get more time in life. As you get older, you're not going to have more energy. Like if you're trying to figure out what to do, and there are a lot of these bro podcasters trying to sell young guys on advice. Andrew Tate, Joe Rogan, and you'll find that a lot of their commercials are targeting you to buy something that's supposedly going to help you become the man that you want to be. Mm-hmm. And a lot of it is just sales. Mm-hmm. You just need to become an expert at something, whatever your career is at the moment. Make sure you try to stay in shape. Make sure you try to get good sleep and try to eat right. But other than that, sink yourself into your career path, and you'll find that you'll be rewarded for your expertise. And that's a platform that you can build on. One of my favorite books is Covey's 7 Habits, Highly Effective People. And it's the book is centered around concentric circles. The first couple chapters, you focus on yourself. How can you make yourself right? And then so going from dependence to independence to then interdependence. And I'm breaking down a book that I haven't read in a while. But the idea is like build the foundation for future you. And you'll be very thankful that you did it in years in the future.
I mean, you don't even have to land at the goals that you set. Set the goals and start working that way.
Yeah.
And you'll land maybe even in a better place than you started.
Oh, for sure. No, my plans rarely work out, but there's always a good lesson in them. And giving 100% on a project and failing is you can learn a lot from. My favorite sticky note on my mirror at the house is the opening to James, the book of James. Count it joy, my brothers, when you face trials of various kinds, because it produces steadfastness in the faith. Count it joy when you face trials. I mean, if I look back on my life, the things that produced the most growth were incredibly tough. Like, they sucked at the time. And looking back, I'm probably the most grateful for those times that were miserable, because you learn so much and you become better from it. And so trying to take that James 1 approach has, it's not easy to do. When times suck, your prayer is going to be like, all right, Lord, thank you. I don't know how yet, but thank you, because it produces steadfastness. So, yeah, I think it's easy to be afraid of hard things, but if you go through some miserable times, you come out on the other end, and then you're not as worried about miserable times or taking on miserable challenges in the future.
I've always thought that verse was it was fascinating that it says count it all joy, not count it all happiness.
Yep.
Because joy is so far beyond happiness.
Mm-hmm.
And much more of, it's an action. It's you have to produce that joy and decide to be joyful. It's not something that's just thrust upon you.
Yeah, there's military term is embrace the suck, and that's a much harsher way of conveying James 1. That's really all that is.
All right, Will, what other notes of wisdom have you prepared for us today?
I very few. You're very kind to have me on. This setup is very impressive.
Oh, well.
And as a MakeReady, longtime listener, first-time caller, it is cool to be sitting in the chair.
Yeah. Well, it's all AI. We're just AI, so people.
It's coming, man. I'm sure it's coming.
It's right around the corner.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.